Most of us grow up with the same financial advice, right? Get a good job, earn a paycheck, save a little bit, and just kind of hope for the best. But what if the real rules for building significant wealth are completely different? Well, today, we're cracking open the playbook that separates the modest savers from the true wealth builders. So, to really get what we're talking about, we have to understand the scale. Let's just start with a number that's almost impossible to wrap your head around: $1 trillion. That's a 1 with 12 zeros behind it. And get this, some reports are saying the world's first trillionaire could become a reality within the next decade.
I mean, to really put that into perspective, this quote from the BBC just nails it. If you spent $1 million every single day, it would still take you almost 3,000 years to run out of money. That isn't just being rich. That's a fundamentally different financial reality altogether.
That kind of scale is it's mind-bending. But it forces us to ask a really important question. This isn't just about getting lucky or earning a fat paycheck. There are foundational mindsets, specific strategies at play that make this kind of thing possible. So what are they? It all starts right up here, in the mind. And it's not about being flashy or anything like that. It's about a few subtle but profound differences in how wealth builders just see the world. Okay, now this is fascinating because it gets to the core of everything. Most people focus on money, how to get more of it, how to save it. But the wealthy understand that money comes and goes. But time is the one asset you can never, ever get back. So they don't trade their time for dollars. They use their time to build systems and assets that generate money for them. And that leads right into this next big idea: the ability to say no to something good now so you can have something great later. That is an absolute cornerstone of building wealth. It's the classic idea of planting a tree today so you can sit in its shade decades from now instead of just buying the fancy umbrella you want this weekend. This perspective on failure is everything. For so many of us, a setback feels like a stop sign, the end of the road. But for wealth builders, it's just data. It's a lesson. They get that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's actually a critical ingredient in the recipe for it. So you see, it's not just one thing. It's this whole combination of taking smart, calculated risks, not just being reckless, and constantly investing in yourself, in your own knowledge. It's deeply understanding that who you surround yourself with matters a lot. And it's always thinking with a generational perspective about a legacy. Okay, so once you have the mindset dialed in, how do you actually put it into action? Well, this part requires rewriting some of those common financial rules we all learned and embracing ideas that might even seem a little backwards at first. Now, this concept is a real game changer. Most of us obsessed over the rate of return, right? Am I getting 8% or 10% on my investment? The wealthy, though, they obsess over the velocity of their money. The crucial point is this: using the same dollar multiple times a year, even for a moderate return each time, builds wealth way faster than getting one slightly higher return on money that just sits still. So here's a super simplified look at how that actually works. You're basically using leverage, a fancy term for other people's money, to control an asset. That asset then makes you money, which you use to pay back the loan. But here's the magic trick. Once that original capital is free again, you don't let it sit around. Bam! You redeploy it into the next opportunity, recycling that same dollar over and over again. And this brings us to debt. We're often taught that all debt is this big, scary monster. But the wealthy make a critical distinction. There's consumptive debt, like a car loan or credit card debt for a vacation, that literally destroys your wealth. But then there's productive debt. That's money you borrow to buy an asset that makes you more money than the debt costs you. That's not a monster. It's one of the most powerful wealth-building tools there is. And there are other accelerators too. A smart tax strategy isn't about evasion. It's about understanding the rules of the game. Owning equity is absolutely crucial because cash, just sitting there, loses its value to inflation over time. And you can never, ever forget your own human capital. Investing in your skills can give you a return that no stock market can guarantee. Now, applying these principles for yourself is one thing, but when you scale them up to the level of billionaires and, maybe even trillionaires, it opens up a much larger, way more complex societal conversation. This chart, based on Oxfam data, it's pretty stark. Since just 2020, the wealth of the world's 5 richest men has more than doubled. During that same time, nearly 5 billion people have actually gotten poorer. This incredible acceleration of wealth to the very, very top is really at the heart of this entire global debate.
And look, there are really strong arguments on both sides. Supporters will say this level of wealth is what funds world-changing innovation, everything from reusable rockets to global health breakthroughs. But critics, on the other hand, argue it creates dangerous levels of inequality and allows a single person to have the same political influence as an entire country, all without ever being elected.
So, after looking at the mindset, the tactics, and this huge global debate, what's the key takeaway for your own financial life? What does it all mean? The playbook really boils down to three things. First, you have to think differently. Value your time, learn from your failures, and play the long game. Second, you gotta act differently. Get your capital working faster, use debt as a tool, not a trap, and be strategic. And finally, you have to see the big picture and understand that these personal choices we make exist inside a much larger conversation about what our society truly values.
And that leaves us with a final thought. We've seen that wealth isn't random. It's built on a very specific set of rules and principles. And that kind of begs the question, as a society, are we sure we're rewarding the principles that we value the most? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.